So now you should be able to see me. Hello, my name is Timmery Hagenberger. I think everybody who is here knows me a little bit, maybe not in person, but I am the nutrition professor. And this is a special night because we have a membership that's called the Foodie Bar Way of Life. And it's this community that we have been growing since July. And it is fantastic. And we do all kinds of really fun things, including cooking demos. And we do meal planning parties because, you know, life is better with a plan, but we just don't get around to doing it. So we make it fun. We do Q&A sessions. We have a book club. We do all kinds of things. And we share recipes all the time in this really cool portal. And we started doing Prep2Gethers. So this is a way that we can hold space for each other to do some of those little kind of projects that we've been wanting to do, like sprouting, like making some condiments, different things that we know we would love to be able to have, but we just don't get around to doing. So we thought that sprouting was a great topic because the more I learned, I have to tell you, I am amazed. We talk so much about food deserts and about the price of food going up and the idea that we can be more self-sustainable is really important, but we don't all have a full garden. I came from a house where we changed the whole front yard to a garden and then we moved. So we're going to have to start that all over again. And I have friends that live in Alaska all over the place where they can't necessarily count on an outdoor garden all year round, but you can sprout on your counter without dirt or bugs with just water. And it doesn't seem possible, especially when you grow up thinking every little houseplant needs Miracle-Gro. You think, how in the world am I going to take these little seeds and actually grow sprouts? Well, not only are they easy to grow, but they come to find out they are the most nutritious of all. Let's see here. Can you still hear me? The most nutritious of all vegetables. And we're talking about 30 to 50 or more times more nutritious. And nutritious being across the board. So I have some information that I want to share for you. And this is partially from the Sprout book. And this is a book by Doug Evans. He is basically the Sprout man. He has done this for years and years and years, and finally decided, how am I going to help people? He had a juice company, and it was a big endeavor, and it got bought out by a big company. And he said, I got to figure out how to make this accessible, like nutrition accessible to more people. He said, oh yeah, sprouting. And he lives in the desert of California, like desert, Death Valley. And he basically lives on these sprouts. So I wanted to read a little quote from Joel Fuhrman, who is a physician that some of you may be familiar with. He supports the nutritarian approach to eating. And so he says, I always say, we've landed man on the moon already. And by that, I mean, we already know how to save millions of lives, win the war on cancer, and protect our population from heart attacks and strokes, the leading causes of death. The answer is vegetables. And if I was in my classroom, I would be jumping up and down saying, yes, the answer is vegetables. And so there are certain vegetables, the cruciferous vegetable group, which have these amazing chemicals that they produce, plant-based nutrients that they produce when their cell walls are crushed So when we have an enzyme mixing with another chemical that makes something called sulforaphane, and those are incredible. They will increase your body's ability to fight cancer in a variety of ways, including not only anti-inflammatory, but we also see that they are anti-angiogenic, which means they cut off blood supply to tumor cells. And we know without blood supply, cells do not grow. We also see that they can help us detoxify what we would call carcinogens. So those are cancer-causing agents that we find in our environment. They protect us from DNA damage. If a cell is already damaged, the DNA is damaged, then it will help the cell end its life, apoptosis, so that they don't keep dividing, right, and spreading the cancer. And they help us shift our hormone metabolism. And there's been some really good research about bladder cancer, about liver detox, boosting our liver detox, and about protecting our skin as well. So not only internal cancers. So what's really interesting is that the sprout, compared to a mature version of that vegetable, the sprout is the most nutrient dense of all. So not only are you going to have it packed with nutrients, but you're not going to need as much quantity. So I've seen a comparison of like 1 cup of broccoli sprouts can be equivalent to 27 cups of broccoli. So that's what we're talking about. So like a tablespoon on top of a sandwich, or in a salad, or if you've seen the picture I put out on my oatmeal, yes, I live what I speak. As if you know me, you know that, can pack a punch. And especially for people who are not quite as keen, we'll say, on eating gigantic salads the size of us, right? That sprouts can be an amazing way to even sneak in some extra nutrition for some of those that are a little bit resistant. So I wanted to also, I was amazed. They did a study with H. pylori, which is the most common cause of stomach ulcers, and saw, it was a John Hopkins study, that they reduced, that having the broccoli sprouts reduced the H. pylori by 40%. So we just see, many, many, many reasons. And I wanted to list, here we go, something else that's really interesting. Some people that I have spoken to recently have said they just have a hard time handling vegetables and legumes. It just gives them, kind of digestive discomfort. And so we see that when we sprout, it can consistently help with absorption and just the way that our body handles those compounds. So you can have a little easier digestion. At the same time, the nutrients are more bioavailable. So we have more of everything, more of all the phytonutrients, and actually a little bit less of the what they call anti-nutrients, which are like phytate and lectins, you may hear about, that kind of thing. So pretty amazing stuff. And it's even, Doug in this book says it is so much better than using a protein powder. So this is like, just so much further beyond. So if you know someone who's been spending money on protein powders, which they are expensive, this is a great way to get a bunch of nutrients, even more protein than you would think from the broccoli. It actually is much higher, the broccoli sprouts. Then this could be a great addition to your life. Let me see if there's one more thing I want to. Okay, so two other little things to mention. So here, so many reasons to sprout. So I'm just going to list these real quick. You pick the one that makes the most sense to you. Easy, fast, low cost, local. Well, yeah, it doesn't get any more local than your counter. Plant-based, fun, anti-cancer, delicious, digestible, as I just mentioned, empowering, because you get to control your food production, good for the air, just like houseplants can be, sustainable, great conversation starter, educational for children, diet friendly, because they're just a few calories. So if you have that kind of mentality, right? So those are just a few reasons why sprouting makes sense. Now, I am going to show you a video that I created over several days of the process. So I'm going to take you there, and it's just 7 minutes. And then after, we'll come back and we will do that first night of prep. So if you have your equipment and you're ready to go, excellent. If you're just here watching, excellent. And then we'll just share a few people's comments about their experience, because some of our Foodie Bar Way of Life members have been doing this for a while. And there are some that are very skilled at all different kinds of sprouting and microgreens. So I've kept it simple with jars, but I know some people have gotten a little fancy, and some have even made little sleeping bags for their jars. And so we will get into what all that means in just a minute. So let me do a screen share, and this is probably going to get a little loopy. So let me see here. One moment. Want to get into our membership. Yeah, I'll do that right now. Let me do on my screen share. So I'm going to jump into the Foodie Bar Way of Life membership. Okay, start to. Okay. So let me go. You should be able to see my. All right. So I'm going to go to resources and then Prep2Gether-Sprouts. Here we go. And so I sent everybody who was not in our membership yet a list of all of these, the pieces of equipment, but here is the video. So we're going to watch this video. And then at the end, I'm going to start from the beginning.
So I'm going to do a sanitation of the seeds.
Oh, let's try that again.
Of the seeds. And the solution I'm going to use is 33 ounces of water. So here's 32 ounces, and then an ounce is 2 tablespoons. So now I have 33 ounces. Then we'll do an ounce of vinegar, and this is just white vinegar. There we go. Hydrogen peroxide, the 3%, 1/3 of a cup. And then almost 1/3 of a cup. Okay, and that's our sanitizing solution. And I have radish seeds, I have black soybeans that I'm gonna sprout, and broccoli seeds. And I'm using 1.5 tablespoons of each of the seeds, and then the soybeans 1/4 of a cup. So I'm gonna rinse them all. I'm going to once, and then I'm going to add this solution to each of them so that they will sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll rinse again, probably one more time, and then let them soak overnight. All right, it's the next morning and we are ready to drain these seeds. We'll rinse them once, and then we will get them set up on this incline so that they won't sit in water fresh water. While these are draining, I want to show you what I created here. I just used a tray. This is a rack that I repurposed, and a little cup that comes with a rice cooker. And then I have just these clips, and plastic would be even better because they won't rust. And then once I have all of the moisture out, then I just set them up. I have three. I was doing two before, so now I have a third one. Sometimes there's moisture in the ring, so you want to just make sure you get all of the drips out. Kind of spread out the seeds. Do that. And be a little gentle. You don't want to be too harsh with these cutie seeds. And I'm going to move that over into the corner and put a towel up just to give it a little bit of darkness. One of the important aspects of rinsing the seeds and the sprouts is to be gentle with them. So you don't want to vigorously shake them. So we're basically done growing these now. And every day in the morning and in the evening, I have a timer set in my phone with the label rinse sprouts. But I just want to show you quickly that we want to agitate them because we want to get the water in between, but we don't want to beat them up. And especially as they are, when they're young, these are ready to eat. And I've been sneaking sprouts all the last 3 days because they're just so amazing. I didn't want to wait. I need to have more going at the same time. But that's all. I just wanted to show those to you. And then this was the soybeans, and they're not sprouting as quickly. They took longer, but I'm going to go ahead and cook them. You can see there's some sprouts. So I'm going to go ahead and cook them on the stove. And enjoy those. And the nutrition is boosted just because they have those little sprouts, even though they don't get really long. And then my last one is radish. So these are broccoli. And I want to get those draining. And then these radish sprouts are always gorgeous. So we'll just do the same. And the little seed, the outside, the little seed shells, they're soft. And some people talk about putting the sprouts in like a salad spinner to remove them, but they're so soft, doesn't bother me at all. I just eat them with the sprouts. And then I'll put them in the fridge, although you want to eat them up within the next several days for sure. Doug Evans recommends growing smaller amounts that you can eat pretty fresh instead of trying to make them last all week in the refrigerator. So that's it.
All right, so now we should be back. Are we back on Zoom? There we are. Okay, so I can field questions that you have, but we can also get busy. So let me spin this around and make sure that I'm sideways. Let's see here. Okay. I think we're okay this way. Okay, would I be able to turn off the ceiling fan? Yes. Let me do that. That will turn itself off. Okay, yes, thank you, thank you. All right, so it feels a little strange not to be able to talk to you here. So what we can do to start is making the sanitizing solution. So actually, I want to make sure that we have time for questions. So I have my equipment out. I have my seeds out. I'm going to do lentils as well. But one thing I wanted to mention to you quickly is you saw me do radish and broccoli sprouts. And that's because there's good research that shows that you will have more active sulforaphane, the really potent anti-cancer compound, when you have 2 of those. And what we found is broccoli sprouts can double the sulforaphane content if you're using them or eating them with radish sprouts or rapeseed, or which is rapini, or rocket, which is arugula. So Trina can talk a little bit about arugula, because I don't believe arugula works well in a jar. So I have just stuck with radish sprouts, and I have China doll radish. And there is on the sheet that everybody got, or in the membership, if you're a member of the Foodie Bar Way of Life, you'll see a coupon code for True Leaf Market. And that's where we've been buying very good quality organic sprouting seeds. But I have had nothing but excellent luck with the radish. They're the strongest they seem to be as far as all of my sprouts, although the broccolis are excellent as well, but they are spicy. So a little goes a long way, but that's why I do both more than just the one. And then one other thing I was going to mention was when Donna had said in the beginning that she saw sprouts and microgreens at farmers market, and they were expensive. And I used to buy for probably, I don't know, at least a year. I was buying my broccoli sprouts at Rayleigh's, where I lived in Lodi, at the supermarket. And so I would use those, and then I made my own, and I had to buy some to show in a demonstration. Oh my gosh, they were so shriveled compared to what I grew. I mean, you have nothing to compare it to, but what I grew from a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of seeds just blew me away. I used to do 2 tablespoons in this quart jar, but it really filled it so much that that's when I was messaging back and forth with Doug, because I had to actually throw one quantity away because I just couldn't eat it quick enough. I wasn't eating it as often. I was trying to kind of save them. And he said, no, you don't want to do that. You want to grow them and eat them. not try to grow them for the whole week and, you know, spread them out. So he said, same size jar, just less quantity. So what you saw was a tablespoon and a half about, which is pretty incredible. So can we answer questions first? Because I can obviously make my little solution at any point. But I want to make sure that I'm answering and that we're all answering questions that everyone has. So if you have a question, why don't we put them in the chat? And while we're doing that, I'll invite Trina. I'm adding 33 ounces of water. So that's 32 ounces plus 1/8 of a cup, or 2 tablespoons. It'll be 1 more ounce. But Trina, can you give us a little bit about your experience with sprouting? And yeah,
there we go.
There you go.
Sure. I've been sprouting for almost 5 years now. I take my jar and my lid with me when I go traveling, and I soak it. I do the whole process that we're going to see here while I'm traveling. I rinse it in the hotel room. I turn it upside down, and I just use like a little Tupperware plastic dish, because these have little knobs on them, or little, you know, what are those called? Nubs. And so it'll sit in my little Tupperware dish like this behind my seat on the floor.
And let me see, can we see you? I think that maybe, let's see, if we go to, I should be able to add spotlight.
I don't want the spotlight.
No, but that's right. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
You were
anyway,
showing.
Yeah, I just wanted for you to see that. I mean, there's so many different options. These you can buy on Amazon, and then you can also buy this screen that's stainless steel. And I have to admit, I use it in there for my smaller seeds, even though there's different sizes here for draining the water. I do find that I like an extra screen in there for the really tiny seeds. But broccoli, I do all the time. I mean, I have broccoli all the time, and I usually have lentils all the time. And the lentils, I don't let get quite as far as my broccoli seeds. But I do radish and fenugreek as well. And again, when I'm traveling, I just put them in the same jar, you know, and do that. So it's so easy. It's so simple. Beg you all to try it. You'll get to the point where you just have them going in rotation, like Tim Marie was talking about. Start a small amount when it's gone a day or two, because broccoli seeds can be ready like within 3 days. Radish and fenugreek about the same amount of time. And, you know, they don't have to be long. They don't have to be green. Mine are never green. I never let them get that far. But you soak one day, then a day or 2 days later, start another batch, because we all have jars, right? And then keep going like that. Now, I do freeze mine. If I've made too many, I freeze mine, and then I put them in a smoothie. I wouldn't eat them on a salad that way. I'll put them in a smoothie. But those are the quickest way to do them. You can go into the microgreens if you want to take a little bit longer, because microgreens take about 2 weeks. No, almost no matter what. Some of them come earlier, of course, than like I do sunflower seeds and pea pods, peas, but they take a long time. And I don't have that much time all the time. So I'm finding, I tried gardening. I tried turning my backyard, like Tim Marie, her front yard, into a garden, an edible garden. I tried to do it in my backyard. I don't have time for that. I don't have the desire. I would rather do this because it's so quick, and you can add it to anything. I make a lot of mashed potatoes. I eat a lot of mashed potatoes. I will always add, and you were saying 2 tablespoons. No, at least a half a cup always goes in my mashed potatoes, because it gives it texture, you know, and nutrition, you know.
Huge nutrition.
Yeah. So does that work?
Yeah, that's great. And just that idea that you travel, because you travel a lot,
Yeah.
and that you take them with you, because you can do this in a hotel room, because you basically just need water, which you can buy water if you want to bring it with you. So yes, absolutely. So what other questions? So Colleen, can you read some of the questions if there are questions in the chat, or Trina, either of you?
Nadine wants to know if you sterilize the jars first before you get started.
I don't. I probably should, but I do send them through the dishwasher. So I don't know if, Trina, what is your thoughts on that? It would be prudent to.
God, I'm unmuting now. Sorry, I was typing my question because I forgot to ask you a question while I was doing that.
Okay.
What was the question again? Do you
Do you
sterilize your jars
sterilize
before?
your jars?
No, I don't even sterilize my seeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I get them. I figure now if I were to get them maybe at Walmart, you know, I don't know where those came from. I don't have a thing about sanitizing stuff like that because it came in the package from the manufacturer, and I don't know. I never have.
Typically, the issues with sprouting and foodborne illness are around transporting them. So, you know, keeping them cool, because from manufacturing to the store. However, there's always a risk. And so that's why I'm showing you, you know, the most prudent, if you want to, way to do this without buying some kind of special things. I mean, white vinegar and 3% hydrogen peroxide is what I'm showing you, because you can buy food grade hydrogen peroxide, but it is not cheap and it is not easy to use, and it's not safe but I mean, it's a chemical. That's
Well, and it also comes, I have had a hard time finding 3% food grade. It comes in 12%, so you have to dilute it. And are you really diluting it exactly the way it says to dilute it? Because, you know, we have our household, our kitchen utensils and whatever. We don't have the stuff that's done in, you know, the factories and everything. So you're just using your regular brown containered 3%?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this level, you know, at this amount, so I'm doing 33 ounces of water, 1 ounce of white vinegar, which is again 2 tablespoons, and then 5 ounces of hydrogen peroxide, which is equivalent to little shy of 2/3 of a cup. So that's it. That's the solution. And then I can divide it up among the 3 jars. I'm going to do 3 jars. And it can sit in there for 5 minutes. That's the protocol.
I have to admit, I'm going to do that and see. I'm going to give it a try and see if it's an issue for me or not, as far as time. Well, I'm all about easy.
And maybe in the summer too. You know, I don't know what's going to happen here because it's going to be warm. So my sprouts took longer than I expected, but it's been cold. You know, it's been very, very cold. So yeah. So what other questions do we have?
So it said, Tammy said, oh, what are the steps again after we've made the solution? And that's where you said you let it sit 5 minutes.
Yes. So what I would do is I will send, if you put your email in the chat, then or send me an email after, then I'll send you the recording, okay, of today, or at least that video for sure. But I'll figure out a way to send you the recording. But I will rinse it once, and then I will put the solution in for 5 minutes, and then rinse once more, and then I'll fill it up for the night. But that's in that little video too, which I'll give you access to. No problem. So go ahead.
Carol said, how do you know when they're ready to eat?
I will answer, but why don't you answer first, Trina?
Oh, answer when you're ready, when you want to. whenever they look sprouted. Now, if you
Yep.
go longer, I mean, I would definitely stop by the time they start turning green, because then they're starting to give all their nutrients to the leaf from the sprout. So, you know, you judge, because where you are and how many you put in it, and, you know, whether you gave it more light, because the more light that it gets, the more green, you know, the, what's it called? The what's the green called in the plant?
Photosynthesis.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yes.
That it'll start, you know, turning green with more light. So now,
Right.
you said you put it in a dark area. I don't. I leave it on my counter, not right in front, not in the open area or right by a window, kind of
Right.
but just on the counter near my sink, which has a window in front of it, so that I remember, because I don't set my timer, because I'm never in the same place at the same time. So when I'm in the kitchen in the morning is when I'll rinse it. And I have to admit, I do it all wrong now, I can tell.
No.
I shake the heck out of those things to get the water out.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave them sit in my sink. I have a rack in my sink, in the bottom of my sink, and I will let them sit there while I'm, you know, doing whatever in the morning in the kitchen, so that they drain even more. And then I'll put them in a plastic. I have a one of those wooden dish racks that fold like this. I think if you look at Doug's Instagram,
his setup has, I put that in the end of the video. You can see he has all kinds of jars in a wooden setup.
And I mean, he also, because he eats it as one of his main ingredients in anything, his base ingredient, he does in half-gallon jars.
Okay. So yeah,
but
you
he
can
eats
do
that
bigger
in a day or two, you know, so.
Right. The man lives on sprouts.
Yeah. Then you have to hold them and you have to shake all that water out, and it, you know, well, that'll give us muscles, right?
We want muscles.
Yeah, right.
We want muscles. But I don't beat them up, because I read about it in his book. And when I was more gentle, I got a better yield.
Okay. I'll give it a try. I mean, I'll try to be more gentle.
But, well, you just experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Colleen makes little sleeping bags for her little jars. So we have to, let's see
this. Oh, is it to block out the light?
Yeah. That's all I did, was just to make see? Oh, there it is.
When I'm doing mung beans, I put a towel over the jar part, because mung beans like no light.
Right.
In fact, I bought brown amber jars.
Oh, jars. Okay.
So,
but I haven't had a lot of success yet.
Okay. That's my little guy.
No,
Lori,
that's good.
Lori wants to know, I sprouted seeds, but not lentils. Once the lentils are sprouted, do you cook them or eat them raw?
I eat them raw.
You can.
I put them on salads.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me I can't? You can tell me
I
shouldn't?
No. The only bean that we really need to be very mindful of is kidney beans. So don't sprout those. Don't waste your time. But lentils, no. And there was someone in our membership, Betty, makes bacon. Remember, she made bacon lentil sprouts. She seasoned her lentil sprouts to taste like bacon bits. So she uses those on her salad, and oof. Yeah, that's way fun. So yes, you can eat those. And Dr. Greger even talks about, that's one of his favorite snacks, are lentil sprouts with, and kale chips, of course. Yeah. I just put in the radish seeds. They're bigger. At least these China doll are the ones that I have. And then I have the broccoli seeds. They're much smaller. That I'm going to do, and I'm going to do a tablespoon and a half of each. So you can also keep the seeds in the freezer. So I'm going to be doing that for sure here with the humidity and with the just heat that I'm going to deal with. So they will be great. And when Trina was talking about the photosynthesis, so that's obviously how the plants sustain themselves and produce glucose, from the sun's energy, capture it in the bonds. We don't want to get into the biochem right now, but I do want to say that the seed has enough nutrition to get it through the process until it can have leaves that will then start with photosynthesis. So that's where all you need is water, because it seems crazy. Like, how could you actually grow this with just water? But it's because all the nutrition is in there and gets unlocked when you add water and temperature, and then it starts to sprout. And then beyond that time, then you start to need an outside source of nutrition. So, but for that first, 5 days or what have you, 6 days, 7 days, whatever, then it really is self-sufficient, has everything. Now, if there isn't another question.
Yeah,
Dawn had oh, go ahead.
Andrea said, is distilled vinegar the same as white vinegar?
Yeah.
And then I have a question about the arugula, and also to talk to you about sprouting arugula. You cannot sprout arugula or mustard seed. I think basil is another one in a jar because it's a gelatinous. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Seed, just like think of chia or flax seed. You know how you soak that to be your egg substitute, or your chia becomes, your pudding. It's those are gelatinous seeds, and arugula is a gelatinous seed. So if you want to grow arugula, then you need to do it like on a paper towel or in a terracotta pot or a terracotta plate. But you want to be careful with your terracotta plates that you buy at Home Depot, because you don't know if there's lead in them or anything. So I find that if you just take, like, I have unbleached paper towels that I keep specifically for sprouting, and then you just spray it, you put the seeds on it, and then you just spray it with water every day like you would sprouting, maybe 3 times a day, and then it'll start growing, and you'll see it'll start sprouting, and then you just tear them off and have them that way. But my question to you, Tim Marie, when you were talking about adding radish or arugula to broccoli, that it doubles the sulforaphane.
Correct.
Can the arugula be the regular arugula you buy in the store? Would that be appropriate? Or are you talking just the sprouting?
The sprouts. The research was done on the sprouts, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was the mature, although I don't know how much, the amount, because it's so different with mature broccoli and broccoli sprouts. They don't even compare. But broccoli is different than an arugula leaf. You know what I mean? As far as like that vegetable has changed so much from a sprout to the actual, broccoli stalk and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, it surprised me, and they did it with mustard seeds and sprouted those, and those didn't impact the sulforaphane.
Oh,
it was the same.
Because we are taught to sprinkle just a little bit of mustard on your broccoli if you've cooked it.
But that's because it does provide that myrosinase, which is the enzyme, but for whatever reason, it didn't increase the sprouts. At least it didn't double, because the other ones basically doubled the amount of sulforaphane.
Okay.
So because there's different chemical processes where it makes either sulforaphane or sulforaphane nitrile, and that's the non-bioactive version. So you want to push the reaction towards the just standard sulforaphane. And so they found that it was effective. But we're talking about something that's already like ridiculously healthy. So it's just taking it up a notch. So yeah. All right. So what other questions do we have? So I'm doing my first rinse, and I have screen material that is clean that my son cut for me. And that's what I use. And sometimes you'll see if you have, Trina, I don't know, did you ever use the crafting plastic?
I did, but the problem that I had when I first started, because that's what I used when I first started, is I was using the rings that come with the mason jars.
Right.
And I found that they rusted so quickly, but you could totally use it, but they're too they're not fine enough. I don't think you have to,
Yeah.
you're going to have to buy the really, really fine mesh that's in the plastic canvas, because
Right.
some of, like, if you go to, I've sprouted amaranth before, and those
Okay.
are so tiny,
Tiny.
the seeds are
Tiny.
so tiny that they just
Tiny.
fall right through. So
Yeah.
that's why I went ahead and bought that screen to put inside of this one, because this one, I like the little legs on it. I mean, it just really makes it
Yeah.
stand
that's
up
great.
if I'm not, especially traveling again.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you can also sprout, like I sprout wheatberry. Wheatberry is so sweet. Sprout
We
the
saw
wheat.
that picture in the
Oh
membership.
my
They're
gosh, it is
gorgeous.
so sweet. Anyway,
Donna has
can
a
you tell I enjoy it?
Donna wants to know, is microgreens a chemical process? Is there a chemical process with microgreens?
No, they're just grown in a medium. So that's either soil or a coconut core, or what else have you seen, Trina? But some kind of medium that then you add some food to, you know, because it's going, like Trina had said, 7 to 14 days. You know, many of them are well past that little sprouting stage to where it's actually pretty tall.
Okay, and Chelsea wants to know the name for the cover. A little green, like Trina's cover.
Trina, you're
Ooh, Mike. You got muted, Trina.
Sorry, I'm muted. Well, I because otherwise every noise that I make, you know, it brings me to the screen, and it's like, no, Timothy's talking. You want to know the name of it? Is that what
she
you
wants
said?
to get them. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. Can I look it up and put it in the membership?
Yeah, you can put it in the membership. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can do it as
them.
a comment underneath
Yeah.
the Prep Together recording.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that.
So I am letting these sit for 5 minutes, then I'll rinse them and then fill them back up with water. And the next morning, start the rinse and drain process. That's it. And I have in that video my little incline, you know, my little tray that I use, but it can be as simple as a bowl with the jars upside down. And that's what I have. I'll show you in my fridge really quick, and then we will. Yeah, we went over time, but it's okay.
Well, and just make sure if you set them upside down that you do have them raised, because you want that water to come out. You don't want the water to sit inside of the other side of the screen. I think that that's a really important thing. So I would say always make sure you don't even have to have this kind. You can have the regular, like exactly like Timorese there.
So there's no water in the bottom of my bowl. And I was saving them. See, I need to eat them up, but I haven't been growing. I have to do what Trina said and just keep every few days to start another batch. But I knew we were going to do this today. So I knew I was going to start new, but that's how, so it can be as simple like this. If you do it this way, I mean, they're obviously not touching on the bottom, and just be aware, but it can be simple like that. It doesn't need to be a full setup. But the more you do, you're going to say, oh my gosh. And then the only other thing to mention is what I had said earlier in the video was I started by just putting a towel up to block, because this is my big window here in the kitchen, but there's no blinds on this. So there is just a lot of natural light. And the second time I did them, I put the towel on top of the jars instead, but made sure that it did not cover the front, like fall right down to restrict airflow. You know, I kind of propped it up so it was still allowing airflow. And I thought the yield was much better. So better than the one I did the video for. So that's why I said do that. And that's why I wanted to have everybody see Colleen's, that she had the little sleeping bags on there, because she's had good luck with that. And I know for a while she was putting them in a closet. So you know, you can do all kinds of little things just to experiment. And some seeds will yield more than others. And sometimes I think, gosh, this really isn't doing much. And then all of a sudden, they start sprouting, and you think, I'm not going to get much out of this. And I have never had where it didn't surprise me how much, you know, that came out of it. And when I was doing 2 tablespoons, I mean, it was busting out the top. So I think it's better to do a little less, but every few days start another set. So I hope that everybody is motivated to, if you have the stuff, you're going to do it, right? You can do it right after we end. Because this literally only takes a few minutes. And if you have the stuff but don't have everything, then you're going to put it on your list to do. And when you get the recording, you can come right back to it and get this prepped. And then if you're not part of our Foodie Bar Way of Life membership yet, then let me know that you're interested, because we have all kinds of fun here. This is just one little piece, and it is fun to get nerdy about being healthy and just have community around this kind of thing, because this is going to make a difference for health. It really does. And right now, prices for groceries are going up. And so we need to get really creative about how we can be more self-sustainable, you know, and with every bite counting. It is just, sprouts are the answer. One of the answers. Trina, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, but I forgot what it was.
Oh,
sorry.
It's okay.
Donna had another question. Did the screens, did the screens come from the same store you mentioned?
Okay, I got them all. I got all of mine on Amazon, and that's what I was just doing, was I was going, and I have a full thing of links. But I don't, I mean, I can put it in the comments in the video, but anybody who's not a member won't be able to see that. And I'd like everybody to see it. So I'm not sure how.
Can you put them in the chat?
Okay, as long as we don't stop, you know, the recording.
I'll wait.
Okay, give me a second.
I'll give you a second. I'll put these back in the fridge.
Okay. I'm not very efficient with my phone. Select all, that's what I wanted. Copy. Let's see if I can send it to my iPad. I'll see if I can just log in.
And I can also include, for those people who are putting their emails in the chat, I will send you the link, like I said, to the recording, and I'll send you Trina's links as well, just in case you don't. Yeah, don't worry, Trina. It's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't worry. I will send it. If you either send me an email, everybody who is not putting your email in here, in the chat, or put your name or your email in the chat, then I will send you that link, because I don't know who, some of you only have your first name listed and I don't know your emails. So you just let me know and I'll get that information to you, and we'll get all the links from Trina.
Yeah, and you can just enter if you want sprouting lids.
Yeah. There's a lot out there.
As long as you don't object to ordering from Amazon.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So anybody else have questions? I hope everybody had a great learning experience, and we will see our Foodie Bar Way of Life members at our meal planning party this weekend on Zoom. And everybody else, I hope to talk to you very soon.